The Nintendo Switch 2 buyer's remorse was never real. I know there were some videos and people trying to push this type of narrative out there online, but with more months that have now went by with the Switch 2 being out, more games that have came out, more people talking about it when it comes to word of mouth, and just how we can see when it comes to actual sales, how it's done, I think that becomes something that was never really real in the first place, as people are recommending the Nintendo Switch 2, giving it incredible reviews on Amazon, Best Buy, Target, and different places that you can buy the system, and more word of mouth is just kind of circulating about the titles that are coming out and what to expect on this system as we get more third-party games announced, in addition to a consistent stream of first-party games, which we're going to talk about here. But let's go over the actual data, because I think that's really important to look and see, well, is there really buyer's remorse? Are people really not happy with it? Are they not recommending it? And that's just not true overall. We've got the October 2025 US Circana sales from Matt Piscatella. US is the biggest dedicated video game market in the world. Obviously one of the biggest markets, if not the biggest video game market in the world, especially for console sales. And now you can kind of look and see how something is doing, because we are 5 months plus in, 4 months when it comes to the data, because it's as of October 2025, but we can see that the Nintendo Switch 2 is once again number one, and it sold 328,000 units and actually helped offset the multi-percentage declines from PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. So if the Nintendo Switch 2 was not here, and also the Nintendo Switch 1 also declined in sales, of course, year on year, but if the Nintendo Switch 2 was not here, the industry would be in a big decline when it comes to console sales at this point. So it's actually helping to boost the whole US video game industry at this point. And that's, once again, data straight from Matt Piscatella and Circana factual data. Now, if you look at the Nintendo Switch 2 sales overall, it's pacing 68% above the Nintendo Switch 1 launch align, so 2017 versus 2025 with these two systems, and it's 3% above the previous record holder launch aligned. But the big thing here with the PS4 versus the Nintendo Switch 2 is that the PS4 launched in the holiday time period, so you're going to get a big boost during that holiday time period. With the Nintendo Switch 2, we still don't have a November and December on the book, so we'll see how it does for November and December, where a lot of people are probably going to be picking up that Mario Kart World bundle or that Pokemon Legends ZA bundle. So even if you look at what they've been able to do right now, launching in the summer, and then before they even get to a big holiday, their first holiday, that is pretty impressive. Then of course, having the actual units there, making sure that scalpers don't win out, which was another thing that was never real, that people tried to push in videos, that it's only scalpers buying the Nintendo Switch 2 and it's not actual gamers. Just lie upon exaggeration upon lie over and over when it comes down to it. And I always say that as time goes on, the truth will expose the lies when it comes down to it overall. And if you're looking at the sales of the system, clearly people are recommending it, people are wanting it, people are buying it, and clearly the games like Mario Kart World and Pokemon Legends ZA, the titles are helping sell the system. Once again, with Pokemon Legends ZA, a game that people were trying to say that's selling really bad and that it's some of the worst sales. Yet, if you look at the Circana sales data, it states that this is the best-selling physical release since The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom overall back in 2023. And then you also look at the digital sales, where it's been one of the top selling games. And then on top of that, it's also the second best selling game for the October MPD, not including digital sales at all. And the game was selling incredibly well digital too. So if you included that, it might have been number one on the sales rankings. So if you look at everything kind of put together, this whole buyer's remorse being real, it was never real. It was just people that were upset about the system. And once again, I can understand people being upset about certain things, the prices of games going up from the standard 60 that we saw with most of the games outside of Tears of the Kingdom to $70. You look at the price of the system going up from $300 and even $200 for a Switch Lite, then $350 for a Switch OLED, to $450 to $500. But there is a pack-in bundled game there, but I can understand that. I can understand the game key card situation as well, not having a lot of these games have physical data on the cartridge, taking up more space overall, kind of prompting people to pick up probably a micro SD express card, which those are also expensive as well. There's a lot of things that you can say, all right, that's a critique, that's a problem, which I've also identified as well. But overall, if you're looking at it, most systems have positives and negatives, and you just kind of deal with those negatives how you want to deal with them, and deal with the positives to play games and enjoy and have fun. And I think that's what's happening right now with the Nintendo Switch 2. The positives when it comes to the games and what's coming out for it, and the form factor, and the fact that you get everything complete all in one box. You can pick it up and start playing right away. It's easy to get into and play, plus all of your back catalog of games work as well. Plus, there's a number of updates when it comes to the system. So a lot of your Nintendo Switch 1 games are going to play better off the top when it comes to the system. So there's just a lot of positive, and I think that's the reason why the momentum is continuing, and all this stuff like the buyer's remorse and nobody's buying this system and it's all scalpers and all of this type of stuff is just complete nonsense, leading up to the apex of it's the worst fastest selling system of all time, after saying nobody's buying this system, after many people tried to push those lies and different things online. So I think ultimately that's what we're seeing here. And I think that the miracle with this whole thing is that this is before we even get the big next Mario game, the next big Super Smash Brothers game, the next big Splatoon game, the next big Animal Crossing game. All of these titles are going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 with new installments, as these were the big system sellers for the Nintendo Switch 1, and we haven't even got to that yet at this point. We're still kind of in the cross-gen to some exclusive games, some spin-off stuff, Kirby Air Riders, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, Pokemon Legends ZA, not a spin-off, but side to the actual big turn-based normal 2 version games like Pokemon Black and White or Red and Blue. You guys know what I mean there, Scarlet and Violet. And that is going to be announced with Pokemon. Gen 10 is probably going to be announced early 2026 at Pokemon Day for a fall release. It was actually even leaked. So once those games start to come out, it's even going to get crazier when it comes down to it, and just show that a lot of those previous videos and a lot of that stuff was simply what I like to call online outrage, where people online are just saying things, and then ultimately you get what the actual consumers are thinking, people buying the system, buying the games, playing the games, and they think nothing like that. There was some of that to a degree before the Nintendo Switch 1 it came out, and ultimately all of those people that argued and were yelling and screaming and making videos, they were all wrong with that. So I think the same things kind of happened here, but it was a lot worse because people were making way more money doing clickbait and doing stuff like that on the Nintendo Switch 2 before it launched, compared to the Nintendo Switch 1 back in 2016 when people were talking about it, and 2017. So there's definitely similarities in that respect. But if you're looking at what people are actually purchasing the system for and why they're not having buyer's remorse, well, I would say it's because of the current game lineup. The fact that, once again, you can play all of your previous games, Nintendo Switch 1, your library finally carries over from system to system. This has been a problem for Nintendo for multiple generations. Finally, we have that to where we can get that. So that was a big criticism. Now that's taken care of with the account system. The current lineup of consistently getting games, I like the fact, and I think a lot of people like the fact, that you can pick up new first-party titles very frequently on the system from launch: Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, Kirby Air Riders, Metroid Prime 4. It's consistent titles, and I think that even the consistency with the Japanese games has been a big help. The Japanese games and the indie titles. So getting the AA stuff like Trails in the Sky First Chapter, stuff like that would usually skip the first year of the Nintendo Switch 1, and it took some time before those games started coming over regularly. But not just getting those games, but actually having it in decent quality, being able to play a game like Hollow Knight Silksong in the first number of months, in addition to Hades 2 as well, that coming out, and that being an incredibly reviewed game and running at 120 FPS on the Nintendo Switch 2. It's the indie games along with the AA, with the big titles from Nintendo first party, sprinkled in with a bit of AAA here and there, with Cyberpunk 2077, in addition to Star Wars Outlaws. Madden's finally came over. All of these are the reasons why there was no real buyer's remorse with the sales, in addition to people actually enjoying all the different games that are coming out and having a variety of titles, unlike the Nintendo Switch 1, where yes, it was selling, doing okay, not as good in terms of the sales pace as the Nintendo Switch 2, but there wasn't factually as many variety of games to play in the first 4 months overall. There really just wasn't. The Switch 2 is getting that, and I think that's what's propelling it to these incredible sales and why people are really leaving incredible reviews and recommending it to their friends and family and online. Now, I do think that the Nintendo Directs have also played a massive, I would say huge role in all of this, and why buyer's remorse was never really a real thing ever, because you know that those Nintendo Directs are right around the corner. You know that they're going to have big games revealed. Nintendo's been doing this for a decade plus now. Definitely not perfect, and I'm not saying that every single Nintendo Direct has every single game and everyone's happy with every single thing. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that you can count on them having a number of titles when it comes to releases. If you look at what they've already set out for 2026, it's actually pretty good, because you have the Duskbloods, which could be a very big system seller for From Software fans out there. But then you also have Mario Tennis Fever that's coming in February. You have Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, which is going to be spring. You have Fire Emblem's Fortune's Weave, which is probably going to be first half of 2026, in addition to Switch 1 games that are coming over, like Rhythm Heaven and Tomodachi Life, and other kind of mysterious games that we need to know more about, like Splatoon Raiders, for example. So there's going to be a number of releases that are coming, and that's before we once again even get into those big Nintendo Directs that everybody loves to speculate about and say what's going to be the one more big thing, what else are they going to have. So it's very exciting in that sense, and I think that that's the reason why, along with many of the other things that I talked about here, that people are obviously not having the buyer's remorse, and people are really just enjoying the system for what it is, enjoying what it can do. Now, I'm very excited to see how Nintendo actually handles it with the Nintendo Directs coming up next year, and what they decide to do. What is going to be the next big game or so to help? I mean, people have talked about 3D Mario. People have talked about potentially getting the Smash Brothers reveal. What about the next new Legend of Zelda? These are all things that still have not happened yet on the Nintendo Switch 2 platform, and that is going to be something to where people can get excited about overall. There's also some other things that I think can have a really huge social element, like Pokemon Pocopia. Despite the game key card and $70 thing, I still feel that that game could actually break out and be a hit with Animal Crossing fans that are waiting for that next big thing, or people that are crossover fans between Animal Crossing and Pokemon. Plus, it's from the Dragon Quest Builders developers. So if you're looking for that next Dragon Quest Builder style of game and you like Animal Crossing and Pokemon, this could also be a game for you as well. And we do have reports that the Nintendo Switch 2 will be the floodgates opening for a lot of third-party games on the platform. That's coming from Kiwi Talks as well, and he actually was talking about that after the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition release, which was just kind of shadow dropped, that there's one that even makes him say WTF, like what is going on? How is this on the platform? So once again, there's going to be a lot of stuff to get excited about. There's still more work to be done, I think, on the system that Nintendo can do to make it better with updates, UI improvements, things like that. Having different themes would be good. Having the eShop music so people can finally just shut up about that, I think that would be good. And of course, figuring out more options for developers when it comes to game key cards, maybe having some different sizes and different prices overall. And of course, trying to see what they can do to have different cartridge sizes for a lot of these developers, and maybe some prices that are a bit better. So hopefully they can work with the cartridge manufacturer that works on these high capacity, high speed cartridges, as not everyone is into key cards too. But overall, I think it's been pretty good when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2, and I expect them to continue driving a lot of new software and games, and for fans to be excited and of course continue buying the system. I think that 2026 could be a massive year, because we just don't know what Nintendo's big holiday game outside of Pokemon is going to be, and what their big first or second half title outside of what we already know. There's probably going to be one more massive game that they're going to reveal for one more big thing at a couple of the different directs here. So I expect at least 2 more massive games to be announced and launched in 2026, because we saw that a lot with the Nintendo Switch 1, and I think we're going to see that a lot with the Nintendo Switch 2, where we have a reveal and a very short time period before it comes out and it drops. So what do you guys think when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 buyer's remorse being a hoax at this point, being not real? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.